Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Pro Football Historian channel. I'm your host, Glenn Gibbon. And today we will go over the Washington football team, or the Washington Commanders at this point, go over their season in 2021, and also go over free agency and what they will do possibly in the draft. Obviously this was an up and down season. They started the season with Ryan Fitzpatrick at quarterback. He went down pretty early in this game, the first week, and they had to go to Terrell Heineke, and for the most part, they competed. I guess before the season, you might have thought Washington was better, but these teams were both. Some people picked both these teams in the playoffs, so obviously Herbert was the better quarterback. But Washington defense, there was a lot of plays in this game that they just couldn't get off the field, and it was a sign that eventually they turned around a little bit in midseason, but they weren't as dominant as the year before. And this game kind of gave hints to that, even though we weren't sure if it was just Justin Herbert, the offense, the Chargers, or this was signs of things to come for this defense. Ultimately, Heineke played okay. Fitzpatrick again only threw 6 passes, and who knows if this is the last 6 passes in his career. They gave the ball to Gibson a lot. Jared Patterson even got 2 carries, which they didn't give him too much of a role. They obviously used a lot of McKissick in the passing game, and later on in the season, Gibson did get some more of the workload in the passing game because he is a former receiver. So, again, they're going to have these same running backs next year. So they're not going to just let Patterson be the receiving back or even give Gibson that duty, make him the workhorse. So then they played a Thursday game against the Giants. Game ultimately, I think they're a better team, but they didn't really play better, and I think they got some breaks in this game. The refs were discussed a little bit in this game on what some of the calls they had. And obviously it came down to that field goal then, which Hopkins made. Again, Jones had a great day running the ball. Played pretty good, he threw decently in the passing game. And Heineke had an interception of Bradbury, I believe. Yep. Later in the game, both when they came out of the victory, going 1-1, and keeping their hopes just being a playoff team. Then they played the Bills, really good football team, and they didn't really compete too much in this game. Buffalo really started off really well. Obviously, the first game they kind of blew against Pittsburgh, but they dominated some team. I think they had 2 shutouts in the first 4 weeks. And this was the game they won that wasn't a shutout. Now, you see it was 27-14, but just couldn't do much to defensively to stop the Bills' offense. And see Heineke, threw a couple picks, couldn't run the ball. And they got just simply outplayed in this game. And they played Atlanta. Game, obviously, Atlanta could have won. They're a better team than Atlanta. I mean, record-wise, than the year they're the same, but they kind of allowed Atlanta to win this game, and ultimately they did come back and win on a touchdown pass from McKissick. Either way, the close call. I ran through 4 touchdowns in this game, which, if you look at his stats, this is pretty much, there's no other game even close to this. And Heineke actually had a pretty good game as well. Didn't run, ran the ball okay, but not great. Heineke obviously had some rushing yards, made the rushing attack a little bit better than it really was in that game. So then we're 2-2 at this point. Obviously a playoff team the year before with a losing record. They go to play the Saints. Saints look like the better team. And, James Winston took care of the ball, threw 4 touchdowns, did throw 1 interception. I don't think he completed half his passes, but when he was completing, it was going really well. They ran the ball okay. And Washington could not run the ball. This is again, the Saints were pretty good against the run the past few years, not just this game or this year. And Heineke struggled in this game. Pretty much the reason why the Saints won. But again, I view the Saints as a better football team, so not too bad. Then they played, a team that ultimately would play the AFC Championship game, would host it in the Kansas City Chiefs, and they were kind of outclassed in this game. They fought okay in the first half. I mean, they're winning the game actually. Patrick Mahomes did have a dumb reception, if you remember. They just had some bad breaks. Kansas City, mostly self-inflicted, and then they kind of turned around in that second half, dominated the game. Heineke one interception. Clayman threw 200 yards, and Patrick Mahomes 400 yards, even with the 2 picks and not much rushing success. They also Washington had the ball longer and was in the game. They could have ran the ball even more. They did fairly well in the game overall. Then they played Green Bay. Honestly, this game they had some fourth downs and other plays that could wind up making this game way closer than it was. Sorry about that. It just keeps putting me back over. He's moving me. Again, they play the Packers. They had a QB sneak that was ultimately a fumble. It was a big play in the game. On a fourth down, they had an interception in the end zone late in the game. Rodgers played well. Obviously, he got sacked a couple times, but and then I think A.J. Dillon also fumbled, if I remember. Late in the game, giving them another chance. But it was the fourth downs. The Packers at the point of the season, they didn't stop anyone in the red zone. They always gave up a touchdown or gave up points, I should say. And in this game, Washington had multiple drives where they couldn't get any kind of points when they reached the red zone. Pretty much the reason they lost that game. So then they lose 3 in a row. They lose a 4th game to a team talent-wise pretty similar. Again, they lose with 17 points, touchdown. Late in the game, ultimately put Denver ahead. First half only getting 3 points didn't help. And Heineke didn't really play too well. They didn't run the ball that great. This is probably Patterson's highest workload of the year. Obviously I'll go through the games and make sure, but I guess Gibson got hurt or whatever, and he was banged up for the middle of the year, so they did have to rely on McKissick a little bit more. But game they could have won. I'm not saying they should have, but defensively played decently, and just Washington's offense didn't do enough, just like the Saints game kind of, or even the Packers game point wise, or a lot of these games, other than Atlanta and the Giants, and they fought in the first, week 1, but those 2 games I would say in particular were the games where the offense played fairly well, but the rest not really. And they upset Tampa Bay off the bye week. Brady, throwing those early interceptions, and another one which was a close call as well. And then Washington went for it then and got it. Couldn't run the ball too much, but they stuck with it, kept control of the ball, and Tampa just couldn't get anything really going for the most part. They did, come back slightly, even though it was same amount of points in the second half. They get that Mike Evans touchdown, I believe, late, around 11 minutes, but wasn't enough. Washington prevailed and held on the lead, and probably the biggest win of the year. And this is where the best part of the Washington season right now. They had a Cam Newton revenge game against Ron Rivera. It's really a Ron Rivera revenge game, but either way, that was what hyped up the game, and it was a fight early on, but Heineke played pretty well. Newton, for the yards wise, wasn't great, but he played okay. They stuck with the run, both teams. I wouldn't say either team did great on the run. Panthers had decent yards per carry average, and Washington, same thing. So Looked evenly matched, but ultimately Washington won this game. Then they played Seattle. Game they can pretty much control. Wes Wilson couldn't do much. We kind of talked about this in an earlier video, and Seattle did try to come back. Didn't get the 2-point version at the touchdown late, but Washington looked like the better team. Almost blew the game. We almost allowed it to be tied, but again, a lot of rushing yards. Really carries. Didn't get a lot of rushing yards on those carries, but stuck with it. Controlled. Seattle couldn't get a first down really at all, and even with that, they almost lost. But Washington did win. Then play the Raiders, another close game. I would say most part a little forgettable kind of game. Nothing really crazy happened. A lot of field goals for the Raiders, but ultimately the new kicker for Washington, because they had the kicker get injured previously, they had to rely on him for the game-winning kick. I think his first field goal in his career, and he made it. So that he won 4 now in a row after losing pretty much 4 in a row, right? So yeah, get the season even. Then they play Dallas. They lose the game. They Dallas dominated this game. They just allowed Washington to come back, and they kind of blew it. Prescott threw some not great, not any interceptions great, but these interceptions were kind of bad, especially the second one. Got him right in the game. And Heineke really struggled, got hurt. They had Kyle Allen for a bit. A little misleading, but at least Washington fought. But then the COVID hit. Didn't have really much starters in this game. We did have a lead because the Eagles kind of just gave them it with the interception and the fumble. But either way, the Eagles just controlled it, ran the ball really good. They had to start Garrett Gilbert because of COVID. He couldn't run the ball, didn't have the ball long. Eagles really dominated this game. Just gave the Washington early lead. And after that, the Eagles did whatever they needed to. And they played Dallas again. COVID still was an issue. Injuries were an issue at this point in the season. And they got completely whooped in this game. It was a Sunday night game, I believe. It was over pretty much at halftime. We'll look at the stats really quick. Heineke didn't play well. Put Kyle Allen late. And 5 touchdown passes from the quarterbacks. They had, I believe, special teams touchdown, if I'm not mistaken. Well, they had the block punt, I guess. And they might have, I don't know if they had anything else, but the fumble recovery in the end zone Washington. So really nothing going well. They didn't even pick 6 for DeMarcus Lawrence, who just recently obviously returned to the Cowboys for the next year. So after that, they played the Eagles again. Could have won this game. Had the lead. Eagles again, slow start. This whole last month or two of the season, the Eagles just had slow starts for a lot of games, and then they started. They dominate the running game, get back in it, and we control it. But in this game, Eagles allowed Jalen Hurts, and he got him into field goal range. They got an interception by Rodney McLeod at the end of the game, and Heineke didn't play too well. And this is the point of the season. You're like, Heineke's definitely not going to be the future for this team. Could be the backup, and it looks like he's going to be the backup. Obviously, they traded for Wentz from the Colts. Let's go to the last game, at least before that. And this is a game that was kind of meaningless. Watching a better team. The Giants were a really bad team at this point. And obviously, they got new general manager and head coach from this point, after this game. Washington, they kept their staff for the most part. So, new quarterback. There are some changes. Matt is not going to be on the team. No Landon Collins. So they did cut a bunch of people. I didn't think they really improved. And they had the draft. They have a lot of time in free agency to improve this roster, but unless their defense gets similar or close to what it was the year before, or even maybe even Wentz plays to his I don't know if potential is really a word, but now he doesn't have to play MVP level, but close to it. That's the only team I can get. The only chance I see this team having success next year in competing for the division title. Otherwise, they're probably an average team again. Again, it's lot's going to happen. I could change that, but a lot of teams in the division are not getting better right now. Giants haven't really improved. Cowboys definitely have not improved. Eagles really haven't improved either. So, how much does Wentz help this team? That's a question. Does the defense return to form, 2020 form? And, they obviously get Chase Young from injury and a bunch of other guys back. So, again, we'll see. Let's look at the stats really quick for quarterbacks at least. He had decent win-loss. 20 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. He's a backup at this point. That's what he is. Ryan Fitzpatrick, I don't know if he plays again. It's going to be 40 next year. I don't see that being an option. They could technically always bring him back if they thought he could be something for their team. But then the Wentz trade happened, so I don't see that happening. Probably his career is done, like I just said. Kyle Allen is now in the Texans, so they don't even have that as their backup, so they have to figure that out going into next year. Maybe they draft a quarterback behind Wentz. Who knows? Again, they're going to be the 11th pick in the draft. This has them getting Chris Olave. Not a big fan of Olave's game. He's more of a. I think he can fit a role on a team, and he's the speed receiver that he's not John Ross or Henry Ruggs kind of speed or Deshaun Jackson, but really good speed. He's that speed threat. He's not a guy you going to be doing if a defender's on top of him, bumper run. He doesn't have any physicality in his game. I don't see him being a number one, but he can definitely be a role player, and I don't really see that happening for a team drafting a player like that at 11. It happens. I just don't think it's the best use of the pick. Obviously, Brandon Sheriff left in free agency, so they could get some offensive line help. Maybe another receiver. Well, this is a receiver, but again, they need that fit the other side or help the passing game without just relying on McLaurin. Maybe De'Ami Brown comes into play more next year. Defensively, secondary needs help. Maybe linebacker, but they're going to see if Jamin Davis can step into the starting role and be a 3-down linebacker in the league. Again, a lot of questions for this team. Still have a great defensive line, and they're retaining those main 4 guys. Obviously, Ioannidis was a 5th guy in that rotation, defensive tackle, but they still have plenty of talent there. Still the strength of their team. And, there's question marks for some of these offensive lines in that division. Obviously, the Eagles are pretty good, but the other teams have some holes. So that would be the way to, having success next year. I'm going to cut the video here, end it here. Again, thanks for watching. We'll talk about the Minnesota Vikings in the next video. And have a great day. Enjoy the week. And we've been getting a lot of great NFL news with the Deshaun Watson trade and all that, and Devontae Adams. Hopefully we get some more. Again, enjoy the weekend and have a great night.